Hello, everybody. I hope you are well. I'm so excited to be here, and this has been so awesome this week. So I cannot wait to start talking and sharing about our final fourth garden. So we've talked about gardens that attract wildlife. We've talked about gardens that feed. We've talked about gardens for art and beauty, and our final teaching garden is gardens as outdoor learning stations. So there's only so much I can pack into this session. So please know that there's so much more to learn about this incredible teaching garden because there's so many different components to it. So we're going to get into that in a minute. But I actually wanted to start this session, this live session with for some reason I felt called to pull one of the nature meditations from my box here. It's called the Nature Meditations deck. And it's amazing what I pulled. So I just actually wanted to spend a minute and read this to you. And the meditation is called, it's one of the ones that were under strengthening affirmations. And this particular meditation is called Create Your Own Conditions, which I think is actually amazing because this is exactly what we're talking about this week. So I'm just going to take a minute and read this. Plants and animals don't wait for the perfect conditions to come to them. Salmon work hard to swim upstream to spawn. A sapling will bend and contort to find its way towards sunlight. Gray whales swim to the Arctic to Central America each year to find food. Consider parts of your life where you're waiting for opportunity to fall into your lap. Watch what can you do to strive harder towards the goal and make your own perfect conditions? Close your eyes and gently repeat, I will create my own conditions. So this entire week we've been doing a Facebook Live, and I've been posting it on our podcast and our uh, Facebook and oh my goodness, I've been YouTube. I've been also putting it on our YouTube channel so all can hear and see the amazing things that we can do in our outdoor classroom. So again, we're going to be talking today about growing children's minds in gardens as outdoor learning stations. So what are this fourth component? What are gardens as outdoor learning stations? What is that? So as I told you in our first day, the journey that I took in terms of really formulating and learning about these four camps of people, and one of those was thinking about what where do we put the mud kitchens and the water walls and the fishing bridges and the makerspace gardens? What about all those gardens? So that's the umbrella that I've created into these type of gardens. I feel like it's important to categorize these types of gardens, and they're different than the other ones that we've been talking about this week, which is wildlife and food, and a very different component than going into a mud kitchen and creating a mud kitchen for kids. So these are the conditions. If we can create these amazing invitations for learning and these conditions for learning for children of all ages, imagine how they can then in turn fall in love with learning and fall in love with being outdoors and their relationship uh, to nature and also themselves, and so on and so forth. So my question to you is, I, again, why outdoor learning stations? Why is that so important? So there are so many different benefits, and I'm kind of going to talk about the benefits through the lens of a particular learning station because there's so many and we only have a certain amount of time together. But again, we are diving much deeper into all of these learning stations, how to set them up, how we can incorporate them, different activities that we can do within the learning stations during these summer months. And that, of course, is in our Exploring Nature in Summer Masterclass. And so we're going to start off with hands-on learning. So many of this hands-on learning can be incorporated into the mud kitchen, which is the most favorite station, and where children are really reinforced classroom concepts. So that can be math and weighing and scaling, and so even in the fishing bridge, kids can fish for their fish, and on the fish you can have different letters or numbers. So, all of, again, when you are thinking about setting up these various stations, not just thinking, oh, this is just a playful learning area and they love being there and they can get lost in there. I see it every single day. But also thinking about how can you incorporate some playful learning elements in that particular station. So, especially in the mud kitchen, can you add a scale? Can you add a recipe that they can follow? So they can, are they following directions? All of that can be pieces that they are being reinforced in that particular learning station. So then we go into creativity and imagination. So that can be found in all of the stations, of course, but maybe looking at our music garden. Do we have a music wall where kids can be super creative? I had a girl the other day. Oh my goodness, she was just absolutely adorable. She somehow got, she used something that was actually broken off of the water, water station, and she used it as a whistle, and she has whistling, and then she was using the pots and pans in our music wall, and she was doing this whole coordination. She ran up to me afterwards and she said, did you hear it? Did you hear it? Did you hear my music? So that beautiful, very natural and authentic excitement and learning in that space, thinking about what can we pull from that, and maybe we can create a song, or maybe we can, but again, we want it to come authentically from the child. So we want to create this, the invitation, and then maybe create another invitation that extends that learning into whatever that child is interested in. So it's again following the child and fostering their innovation and their own problem solving. What other things can we add to this? The next one is the physical and sensory development. So I'm thinking again, the mud kitchen, all of these stations. But what about the water wall? Here we are in summer, and I've added so much water play. It's been so hot here in Massachusetts, and we get, thankfully, we get rain, and we've been getting rain at night. And but some of our days have been extremely hot, and so therefore adding different water stations where kids can really feel the water. There's a lot of sensory development that's happening. Um, and how can we create that? So we've got, um, I even created a water wall with a pool where kids were creating obstacle courses for the water. We have a wash and dry station, which is very Montessori, where the kids can put their dirty rags and wash them and put hang them on a washing dry station. So lots of different sensory experiences with that with just even playing with water. The next one is a connection to nature. And I kind of put this under the fishing bridge. And again, it can be so many different things. It could be even pulling in art and going on a nature hike and looking for nature and creating nature from that, creating art from that experience. But immersing the children in nature and having spaces in your outdoor space. And again, this kind of ties into attracting wildlife into your spaces. So therefore we need plants, and how can we incorporate that into our outdoor classroom? If we don't have that in our outdoor classroom, can we find ways that we can take children to a more natural environment where they can experience maybe a hike or a walk or a scavenger hunt? Any one of those can enable them to find their own connection and lifelong respect and care for the environment. The next one, social skills and teamwork. We created a makerspace garden where We don't necessarily have natural materials, but we have loose parts where kids can create their own obstacle courses. And they're incredible social skills that kids need to work out. And oftentimes it's more valuable for us adults and parents and teachers and educators to take a step back and allow the children to figure out that themselves. So if we create a space where they can explore on their own and talk to each other, oh, I really want to create this, or I really want to do this, or I want to use the pulley, how can we work together to figure that out? And that cooperation and teamwork, those are lifelong skills that they are learning. And the next one is adaptability and resilience. And I put that under boat. We added a boat to our Secret Gardens outdoor classroom, and it is just phenomenal. And it may be a boat that's just sitting there in our garden, but it has two oars. And so, sort of thinking about, they're not going anywhere, but thinking about the concept of using the oars or working together to pretend that they're going somewhere. So there's all of that, uh, those elements that can be incorporated into their play and their imagination. And that can all be done in these uh, outdoor classroom learning stations. And because there's so many different ones there that can tap into whatever we're trying to pull out from the children. But oftentimes, if we create the space, they will take the ball and run with it, which is incredibly exciting. So, all of these outdoor learning stations, thinking about changing the weather and the varying conditions, all of that is offering adaptability. There may be water that is in these different stations when, like, we've had rain. I mean, it's been incredibly hot, but so it is important to kind of go around to your outdoor learning stations, and if there's sitting water for any length of time, you do want to dump it and provide fresh water. So sitting water for too long starts to smell, and it's definitely happened in our mud kitchen where the kids are playing with the mud, and I kind of leave it, and it rains over the night, and the next day I have to dump out the mud and start over again, and with kind of fresh mud. Um, and a parent was asking me the other day, like, where do you get your dirt? And I think it's just dirt that I pulled from the garden because it wasn't. She says your dirt is wonderful, and it really packs better as mud when they're creating the mud, not necessarily the fancy stuff from the store that you're composting or whatnot. So good to just find organic good stuff. Um, all right, so the next section is that I want to talk about is the benefits of various outdoor learning stations. So there are so many and so many gifts. And again, we dig a lot deeper into this in our Exploring Nature in Summer Masterclass. We talk about all these learning stations and how they work and how we can enhance them in our circle membership, which is fantastic. And the summer masterclass is included in the membership, so that's a huge offering. So I hope you can join us for that. But I want to get into the benefits of these learning stations, and start with that mud kitchen. And this is such an incredible space for not only the exploration of pretend play, which our kids desperately need, and it engages them in this pretend play and engages them in working with natural materials. But the twofold, it's the one most popular space because they're playing in the mud, the sensorial experience that they're having while they're in that space. They're playing with the mud, they're playing with natural elements, this rich sensory feedback that they're getting is aiding in their sensory development, which is huge. So you will find that kids are drawn towards the mud kitchen. I've had questions about how can we make the mud kitchen more conducive to older children. It's even that much more important for the older children too because they're just not getting that sensorial input. So again, thinking about how you can incorporate the mud kitchen into working with older kids, make it into a store, make it into something where they have to do math problems and there's recipes in there, or make it into a flower shop. All of these type of things can be incorporated into the lesson. Okay, go to the mud kitchen and make a pie that has X, Y, and Z. So when they're actually following those directions, they are in heaven. Uh, all right. The next one is the fishing bridge. And this is our fishing bridge is an actual little mini bridge that we have in our garden. And the actual fishing rods are just simple sticks with a string on it with a magnet on the bottom. And the fishies, are just cut out fishies that are in that rubber material. And they are also have magnets on it. So these fishies are in kind of a, I put some beautiful river stones so it looks like the river, and they just sit on top of that, and I have the fishies in a little container where the kids can just grab them and they fish. And it can be made into a game, it can be made, but the eye hand coordination is remarkable. And the attention span that the kids have to really think about, really thinking about how they're going to get one magnet to sit with the other magnet, and then the joy of, oh, I got an A, or and then so they can talk about the colors of the fish, the letters and or the numbers that are on the fish. So all of this takes coordination and balance. It takes patience and observation. So all of this is such a gift to our children. And what I love to do is not, I sort of, when new folks come into the secret gardens, I say, oh, and this is our fishing bridge. But it's fun for them to discover it. And because I had a parent, oh, we just found the fishing bridge, it's when it's something that's sort of found in a discovery, it's even that much more exciting. The next one, again, we talked about water walls, but also the benefit of incorporating water walls, especially during the summer months, and we will talk a lot about this in the Exploring Nature in Summer Masterclass, is the physics and the engineering that goes into water walls. So if you have older children, they can create their own water walls, and all the physics that goes into that is the gravity and the water pressure and the flow, all of that experimentation is where children are manipulating water and water paths and really observing the outcome and enhancing their understanding of cause and effect. So in my case, I have the little ones, and they're coming with their caregivers and parents and caregivers, and they were working with the this cause and effects. But the actual thing is, the water that was for the water wall, I didn't. I had a bucket near it, but one child chose to go to another station, get the water, and they did all this transporting, which is very developmentally appropriate, and it was beautiful to see it. I'm like, ah, this is fantastic. So there was this transporting going on. They were transporting the water into the water wall, and then there was this cause and effect, and then then they go back again. So all of this is so important. And then it was hot that day, so there's this refreshing reward as well, which also brings in this incredible sensory input. So all of that is happening in this very simple activity, and they're getting messy, which is all the research saying the messier you can get is better for the child. So all of that is happening simply making a very simple water wall, which was not elaborate. I have to say, it's not an elaborate water wall, but funnels are super fun. So all right, so the next one is, I had someone say, gosh, I've never heard of a makerspace garden. So makerspace garden is super simple, and it does not have to take a lot. We have a couple of ladders in ours. We've made some places where the kids can climb. And again, older kids tend to take the tires and move them around and make different obstacle courses. So it's a space where kids can take the materials and construct with them, where they can invent and promote their skills, and again, go into their own design and engineering and craftsmanship. in these maker spaces. The little ones love to use ball runs with PVC pipes, and that it's a little bit of the peekaboo when the ball goes through and then it comes out again. It's like, oh, so again, simple, 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 but enormous for these kids. And then what I find is that their attention spans are longer because they are enjoying the activity. Um, so there, it's in these makerspace gardens. It's project-based learning. It's the areas are perfect for allowing students to work on long-term projects, depending on the age and the stage of the kids. We had one child in our group make a bridge, and I named the bridge after him, and we kept the bridge there for months and months and months and months, and it was just he was very proud of his bridge. I didn't have the heart to dismantle it, and it soon became his bridge. So, all right, so questions to consider when creating different these variety of outdoor learning stations. And we have just touched the surface. There are so many more outdoor learning stations that we can dig into. And again, we're going to talk a lot about that and the activities that go with them in our Exploring Nature in Summer Masterclass. I hope you can join us. It's the kickoff is on July 3rd, and the modules will start the following day on July. I think it's that or that Friday. It might start on the 4th, it might start on the 5th. I have to double check that. But regardless, it's going to start that week right away. You can dive into module 1, and then we will have our live session the following week about that module. So we have our kickoff, and then the following day we have the module opens, and then every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have a live session that talks about that particular module. And in the private platform, you will have PDFs about plants you can plant and activities that you can do with your children. So if you are running a summer program with your kids, this is the class you want to have in your back pocket. You will be stress free because you will have ready made activities for you and be like, and I have had educators tell me they have told me, where is all your creativity coming from? That's the feedback that I've gotten about teachers saying they don't know where my creativity is coming from. It comes from this particular group. And what we are doing, and it's the card that we read today, we're creating our own conditions. We're creating the conditions in our outdoor spaces during these summer months that we want our kids to experience something new, something fresh, something exciting. So it feels like different than what they're doing during the school year. We want them to get excited. But if you are even planning for the fall, many of these activities can be adapted and used. So we want to get charged up for the summer. So this is the perfect class for that. So when we're thinking about creating these outdoor learning stations, we want to think about safety first. So we want to take all the safety measures to implement and avoid injuries, because that's no fun, right? That's no fun. So we want to make sure the materials are non-toxic. We want to make sure that everything is safe for children. And again, we get into all of that in our course. We want to make sure that the materials that we're using for kitchen setup is appropriate. We want to think about what can we use that's recycled. And we talk a lot about that. Where can we find recycled materials? And again, I think I said in one of our other sessions that I work with families and communities in their backyard or their schools, and I feel like I'm helping them save money because I'm directing them saying, no, 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 don't buy that big expensive thing. Do this instead. It'll have the same impact, and it will probably be even more fun for the children. So what happens is kids would rather play with the box than what's in the box. So if we're buying them all these prefab things that now people are making to put into your outdoor classrooms, I don't know, it seems like if we can create a more do-it-yourself version, and inviting parents to or going to um, secondhand stores and getting pots and pans in that regard. So much more exciting than getting everything new. So, and the kids like it more as well. So when it breaks, you're not going to fuss. You're going to be like, okay, yeah, it's okay. So you want to also make sure we talked a little bit about this before, drainage. It does rain, and you're not going to be putting everything inside and everything outside each time. It might drain, and you will need to figure out drainage for the water. So water's not sitting, and that's part of a safety thing. We want to really make sure that um, things are healthy and for all kids. Accessibility and maintenance. Again, that goes for pretty much all of the gardens, all four types of gardens, is that we want to make sure that they are accessible and we want to make sure that they are going to be maintained. So that is my um, section for today. So thinking about all these spaces and for our music wall, we want to think about the sound quality of and the installation. What do we need? I think when I first did my music wall, I just propped it up against a fence, and then it started to. I'm like, oh, we gotta really make sure things are not just propped up on fences, that they really have to be drilled in so they're not going to fall, just as they are like bookshelves in our inside classes. There's like laws now because the bookshelves can fall on a child. So we really want to make sure that whatever we're doing, and we need to test it so that things aren't going to fall over on kids. So thinking about outdoor learning stations, and I've been so excited about this series and talking to you about all of the four types of gardens and our framework here at Outdoor-Classrooms.com that we talk about, and all the different elements within all of the four types of gardens. And I want you to think about before tomorrow's our final day, and I want you to think about how you can take all the elements that we talked about within the four types of gardens and how you can create your own one of a kind outdoor classroom. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. We're going to talk about, I want to answer all your questions that have been coming in and any questions that you might have about the Exploring Nature in Summer Masterclass and anything else that's happening in our community. So that will be happening tomorrow is our Q&A. But what I also want you to be thinking about is all of this as an ice cream sundae. So we've got the four types of gardens, and that's sort of like our ice cream, but the elements that we can feature in your outdoor space, because all of our spaces and outdoor spaces are different, but the elements can be the same. So thinking about what you want to pull into your outdoor space, it's not going to happen overnight. I recommend picking one or two and setting it up, seeing what the kids' responses are, and then, oh, let's maybe try another, let's add another. That's how I have built up the Secret Gardens outdoor classroom. And it's been so much fun and exciting to see different things that the kids are seeing. We just made a ladybug crossing, and that was been really fun. If you're on our Instagram, you can see the pictures there. So the possibilities are endless. I would love to hear what you are going to be adding to your outdoor classroom. So please put those into the comments. Send me an email, shoot me a note, and if you have any questions ahead of time, I would love to hear them. You can send them to Victoria at outdoor-classrooms with an S.com. And otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us. Talk to you soon. Bye.